my mental health is actually pretty stable and pretty full of sunny aroma.
Oh, sunny aroma. I like that.
Yes. But also I can be a bit of a warrior. And I also have anxiety as well.
Gotcha.
I consider myself a versatile performer.
And like theater, musicals, anything like that?
If I'm paid to do those, yeah. But, have you ever seen one of those old children's shows called the Jetsons?
Yeah, Jetsons. I remember that. George Jetson.
Cogswell, I can do very well.
There you go.
Okay.
I gotta hand it to you, Spiceling. You got a lot of gumption challenging me to a round of golf. Huh. Sort of like a flea challenging an elephant.
Oh, brilliant.
Thanks.
What else have we got? Or is that your main one?
Nope, there's more. I love food boards.
Do you have high standards when it comes to your partner? And is there any deal breakers where if something happened, that's it, game over?
Yep, there are some deal breakers. There's I should share this. It got to me and it made me feel suicidal.
Right.
To the point that
On today's show, we've got the amazing Michael Theo. Michael's best known for his appearance on the Netflix show Love on the Spectrum.
I don't really need to introduce myself because you already know who I am. Michael, of course.
And why are you back?
I'm continuing my quest for true love. I actually really enjoyed my time with you on Tuesday night.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed my time as well.
That's actually a big relief. I actually would like to go out with you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Excellent. And by the way, I am planning to give her a kiss. Not on the lips, that's too early. I'm actually planning to kiss her on the hand. That's what an old soul does.
You're so sweet.
Thanks.
Michael now also has a successful podcast called Mr. A+. You might have also seen him on the Ellen Degeneres Show, and he's done a TEDx talk. This episode has lots of laughs, and you get a chance to listen to Michael about his own mental health story, his impersonations, and we hit some pretty serious notes. Enjoy. Oh, yeah, Shagsy. How many people have had a baby and lasted to season 2? What?
Don't give yourself stories. Being a father's a blessing.
It's not a blessing on your sleeve, I'll tell you that.
Michael, how are you, mate?
hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Good,
Hi,
mate.
Michael.
How you doing?
We're good.
Glad to hear.
Welcome to These Lads Are Mental, the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you, mate.
I like the shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very cool. And a Friday, that works.
Yeah, I know.
We've been getting some nice backdrops. Last week we had a artist on the show, Nuala, and her backdrop was like really colorful. And yours is pretty good there as well. There's a bit of yin and yang going on, is there?
Yep. That's a mosaic that I purchased a few years ago.
Nice, lovely. I don't have anything. I've got a white wall.
Thank you. Gary, is it?
Yes.
Are you Scottish perchance?
I am, mate. I'm from Glasgow.
Oh, nice.
Have you ever been?
I haven't.
Nah, you should go, mate. You'll love it.
Well, I was going to say, Michael, can you understand him, or is it difficult?
Yeah, I can.
Easy.
In fact, he kind of reminds me of Donald and Douglas.
I thought you were going to say Donald Duck.
Donald Douglas, nice.
Yeah.
And I'm Irish, so you've got kind of two expats in Australia. And where are you based, Michael?
Wollongong.
Oh, nice.
Where are you guys based?
We're in Sydney.
Gary's in Marrickville.
Alexandria,
sorry. And I'm in Bondi Beach, very typical for the Irish, when you're over.
Yeah.
I've actually, well, Gary, you've probably been down to Wollongong quite a bit, right? Because we both know each other, Michael, through soccer, and Wollongong has a very strong soccer team. Well, they have two, I think. They have the Wollongong Wolves.
Yep.
They're in the MPL 1, which is quite high.
Yep.
And then there's another Wollongong team.
Wollongong United, yeah.
Yeah, Wollongong United, yeah. So do you follow football or soccer at all, Mike?
I don't follow any sport at all.
Ah. And I meant to actually ask you, when I first saw your surname, you don't have an uncle called John Theo, do you? That's a soccer coach.
I don't think so.
No, because I used to play for a team called Stanmore here in Sydney, and we had a coach called John Theo, and he was a great guy. And then when I saw your surname, I was like, oh, I wonder if he's related to him. I am also aware that that's like saying to an Irish person, do you know John from Ireland? It's just like,
Very popular name.
Well, welcome to the show, Michael. Thanks for
Thank you.
joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on.
Well, as you know, this is a podcast around mental health, but as you can hopefully tell already, we do try and be a bit funny with it. You know, it is a serious topic, but we think that if we break down some of the stigma and then we can all talk about it a little bit more, hopefully then it will make things better in the future.
Yeah, of course.
And the first thing that we normally ask our guests is the same question. So what does mental health mean to you?
Well, I don't really think about mental health very often because my mental health is actually pretty stable and pretty full of sunny aroma.
Oh, sunny aroma. I like that.
Yes. But also I can be a bit of a warrior, someone who worries a lot.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I also have anxiety as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, we tick that box as well. Anxiety is a bit of a tricky old one, isn't it?
It is.
And when you mention worrying, is that something that you've always had, do you think, or like do you have it like how often does that happen for you?
It doesn't always happen. I just worry about things if I should be concerned about it. If it sounds serious enough to me.
And do you mean kind of like overthinking things if you know something is about to come up?
Yep, I do overthink things a lot.
We definitely do the same with that, right, Carey? Like I think both of us are overthinkers, and we'll get on to how you speak about success later. But I think also if you're trying to be successful, that's also a thing, right? Because you're always thinking about how I can improve, how I can do better.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, actually, it's probably a question we're going to ask later, but it's pretty topical right now, considering we're chatting about anxiety, is obviously in a short space of time, Michael, you've went to crazy heights in terms of being on a Netflix show, being on the Ellen show, you've done a TedX talk.
Yep.
And you said your mental health is very stable, which is brilliant, but you get anxiety.
Yeah.
How did you manage, like me, even talking about those three things are huge. So how did you manage your anxiety, or did you get anxiety before those things?
My anxiety started when I began high school.
Right, okay.
Because there was a lot more pressure and the transition was not easy. And because I found it difficult to adapt to the changes. There was more homework, more exams, more assignments.
Was there any particular challenges for you in the classroom with other pupils or anything like that? Or?
Well, I learned things differently. And the other students, well, I don't have a lot of memories of how I coped in high school, but basically did my best. But I was also not too engaged because high school was never my thing. And because even though I took the work seriously, my heart was not in any of it, except for drama and woodwork, because I'm not academically gifted. I've never been interested in geography or history or English or maths or learning another language. I was never interested in any of those things. I do better when I'm using my hands to do the work.
Yeah, that makes sense. And my wife is the same. She has ADHD. She hated school because it was very difficult for her to use her brain in terms of like schooling and learning. Like I wasn't great in school either, really. Studying was never really a thing. Do you think for everyone, is it challenging, like with the schooling system, that if you don't fit in that bucket, then it's very challenging for anybody to be part of it, right?
Yeah, of course. But also I learned something after I finished school years later. High school does not prepare you for life. All it does is prepare you for university.
That's a good way of thinking of it.
Yeah, but I didn't go to university. I actually went to TAFE.
Yep.
Oh, what did you do there?
I studied certificate 2 in drainage in 2013, but I failed and didn't get it because I failed in a couple of areas. And then the next year, I did a 3-year course called Certificate 3 in Shop Fitting and Joinery, and was qualified in that.
Amazing. But you're also now, we've seen on your social media of late, post the shows, Gary was mentioning, you're now going back to acting, right? And you're doing classes there.
Yep, I only got 2 more lessons in this course.
Wow.
This is actually the intermediate course.
Oh, wow.
What's your dream around acting? Like, let's say you finish that. Do you want to get into TV, movies, commercials?
But all of them. I consider myself a versatile performer.
Right. And like theater, musicals, anything like that?
If I'm paid to do those, yeah. But I'm not really a singer.
Well, not a singer, no. That was my next question.
Well, let me play devil's advocate for that, because Michael, we've had the last few episodes, we've had the crew from an ABC show called Space 22. So I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, but it's on iView if you want to binge it. It's not quite as popular as Love on the Spectrum, I will admit that, and yours truly is on it, but none of us were as entertaining and as humorous as you were. But on the show, we had to learn basically how to use art to, you know, support your mental health, and singing was one of those things. And at the beginning, we were told that we'd have to sing on stage at the end, and we all panicked, you know, I can't do that, I can't sing, da, da, da. Yeah. But when you break down the barriers and, you know, chop it up into small pieces, it was actually surprising how, I'm not going to say I was Pavarotti or anything like that, but, you know, if you watch the show, listen to the song at the end, and then maybe you can let me know how we sound.
Yeah, sure.
But one thing I wanted to ask you, Michael, I mean, Love on the Spectrum has been massively popular, obviously UK and now USA now. Could you maybe just give people some insight of, in case they haven't heard of the show or watched the show, what Love on the Spectrum is all about?
Oh, Love on the Spectrum is a documentary or a reality show, as everybody else prefers to call it. It's about people on the autism spectrum and their experiences and navigation around relationships and their dating experiences, and possibly their struggles in trying to get into the dating world.
What do you think has been the biggest reason for its success? Because it has really taken off over the last year.
Because the people are authentic. But according to most members of the audience, everybody reckons I was funny, but I wasn't trying to be.
You weren't trying to be funny?
Nope.
Natural, mate, you're a natural.
I suppose, but it just comes across that way to a lot of people.
Well, I think that is definitely something from watching it, like, especially with your story, is you are so authentic. Even, you know, the scenes and you're in the kitchen with mum and dad, and then they come in and you're cracking jokes and you're kind of describing your ideal kind of partner. We don't get to see that often, right? Because you mentioned reality shows like The Bachelor and things like that, but they seem a bit more superficial, you know, whereas I think with Love on the Spectrum, it was just real people, real lives, real stories.
Yeah.
Did it feel like that when you were shooting it?
Yeah, it did. Except the only difference is the cameras, which I barely notice.
Well, I think you're already ticking a lot of boxes of being a future entertainer. Like you're funny, even though you're not really trying to. The cameras don't matter to you. Like you're a born star.
I also have a knack for doing voices.
Oh, really?
I've heard this. Yeah. Who's your favorite impersonations?
Okay. This one I can do really well. Have you ever seen one of those old children's shows called the Jetsons?
Yeah, Jetsons. I remember that. George Jetson.
Cogswell, I can do very well.
How do you go?
Okay.
I gotta hand it to you, Spicely. You got a lot of gumption challenging me to a round of golf. Sort of like a flea challenging an elephant.
Oh, brilliant.
Thanks.
What else have we got? Or is that your main one?
Nope, there's more.
Oh,
Astro on the Jetsons as well. Hey, what's going on? I love you, George.
Well, it looks like you could be a voiceover actor or a voice actor as well.
That's something I've wanted to be ever since I was a kid.
Oh, really? That'd be a great job.
Oh my God, that'd be class.
What else you got in your locker? That's good. Two for two so far, mate. Who else you got?
A number of characters I'm able to do, but...
Is Jim Carrey one? Do you do Jim Carrey?
Sometimes I do.
Oh, I'll go for Jim Carrey. That'd be a cracker.
Have you seen that film he appeared in, Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to do my best at one of his characters. Doctor's log, day 243 in this Portobello purgatory. My only companion is a rocker named Stone. The question is, for whom am I narrating this? Then, it seems I've become a feature play in the theater of the absurd, marooned in deep space by the wretched blue rodent. But it's all good, thanks to a breathable atmosphere, my supreme intellect sharpened against the only competitors I have enough to bring it. Chantrell to D4. I've been striving to make fungi into a functional drink of choice.
Brilliant. Wow. There he is. Jim Carrey, live.
Thanks.
How are you, like, you remember that? Like, I presume you weren't reading a script there. How did you know all that off by heart?
I just watched the clip several times.
Because I've heard you say on your TEDx before that, do you have like a photographic memory? Like if you see something, does it just go in?
Well, after watching it or reading it a few times, it just kicks in.
I do remember my little brother years and years and years ago when we were kids, he learned the whole of the Lion King off by heart. And every day he'd be at the table just quoting Lion King sentences. We were like, shut up, John, God's sake.
Speaking of which, I'm actually able to do Scar really well.
Oh, brilliant. What a movie. Go on, let's give a Scar.
Sure. Life's not fair, is it? You see, I shall never be king. And you shall never see the light of another day. Adieu.
Oh, class. Who played Jeremy Irons, wasn't it? Was he?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're a big movie fan. I've seen that from your podcast, Mr. A podcast. Again, give that a little bit of a plug, Mr. A Plus. What is some movies you like to watch? Any particular genre? Any particular movie styles you love?
Well, technically, my favorite genres are comedy, drama, and animation. I don't watch horror, thriller, slasher, or suspense films because they're too disturbing.
Too scary.
Yep. With animation, I particularly love Disney.
Oh yeah, Disney movies are good.
Yeah,
very good.
Kung Fu Panda. With Illumination, there's The Grinch, Sing 2, and Minions: The Rise of Gru.
Oh, nice.
And
yeah, Grinch is good.
With Aardman animation, Chicken Run.
Chicken Run, that's Mel Gibson.
That's an old school one, isn't it? That was back in the day.
Ah, it's classic.
And it stars a Scottish actress herself.
Who's the Scottish actress?
Lynn Ferguson.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. That's an old one.
That must be 20 years old. That one, is it?
22 actually.
Oh wow.
And they're working on a sequel as well.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, I don't know if there's any producers of this future Chicken Run like listening, but hello, we've got like perfect actor here.
Thanks. But also, there's other shows I really love. I also love SpongeBob SquarePants. And also, one of my longtime favorites, Thomas the Tank Engine.
Thomas the Tank, is that still going? Thomas the Tank Engine. Yeah,
no,
still
actually,
going?
no. The original series ended last year.
Right.
So
Okay.
now they're doing a reboot.
Yes. Can I jump in on this? Because I have a little son, Michael, who's one. And I remember Thomas the Tank Engine from when I was younger with Ringo Starr, used to animate it from the Beatles. Yes. And the reboot, which I think is the one I'm seeing on Netflix with my fella Sonny, the song's different. They changed the song.
I know.
I'm like, it now goes, they're 2, they're 4, they're 6 and 8. Crashing cars, and then round and round. It's like this, and it's still a pretty good song, but it's not the OG. And I'm like, oh.
So actually, that's gone.
That's gone.
Oh, you're joking.
I know, but it's also because, but you can thank Mattel for doing that rebrand of the original series, Big World, Big Adventures.
Yeah,
the rebrand was a failure. In fact, they should have left the show alone.
Yeah. I know, it's sad. And sometimes like with those, especially the old shows, we saw like Neighbours is gone, this year as well. When they run out of funding or to get a backer, it's hard to say no when someone goes, oh, we'll do it, but then they want to do it their way and it changes it and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I know.
And do you guys, no, I think I watched this when I lived in Ireland, but there was an Australian show called Pugwall. Do you guys, anyone remember that? No?
No. Pugwall, never had that.
No, anytime I say that, people are like, I don't know what that is, but I was like, it was Australian, like it was an Australian guy in high school. But
how old are you, silly?
I just turned 38 last week, but I'm edging towards 40. But well, we're not too far after Halloween. I wanted to ask you, Michael, like, did you dress up this year? Like you met Minions and things like that. Like, what did you do?
I didn't. I don't even really celebrate Halloween.
I don't either.
No?
But it's also a matter of personal preference. Those who enjoy Halloween and they want to celebrate it, that's their life. But personally, I just don't do it because it just doesn't interest me.
Yeah, fair enough. What about before the show, Michael? That's one thing I was curious about before the show. Your obviously life has changed, I'd imagine, definitely since the show. What were you doing before the show?
Oh, before the show, I was working full-time for at least 2 kitchen manufacturers.
Yep.
The first one, I was there for 26 months. I was on the edge bander every day, and I was the only one on it. And after a number of months, the job did my head in. I actually wanted to leave, but only one thing kept me there.
Money, 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 money.
It wasn't so much the money, it was my mother. She
Oh.
wanted me to stay.
Gotcha.
Really?
Yeah.
But then the next year, I got another full-time job at another kitchen manufacturer. But in this job, I was just sanding doors every day.
Right.
And it was
Sanding doors.
it was a very dusty job. So we needed to wear respirators.
Oh, because you've done joinery, you mentioned. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can see the link there. Yeah.
But also the Christmas rush is the main part of the job that I absolutely hated, because people want their kitchens done by Christmas.
Yeah. And no tradies want to work after a certain date, do they, in December?
Yeah. Last year's Christmas rush was pretty much the last straw for me. And so I quit that job over 4 months ago.
When was the first season of Love on the Spectrum? When was that filmed?
2019.
Oh, right. So just before COVID, was it?
Yeah.
Wow. And then season 2 followed was it a whole year later?
Yeah, it was.
And what's happened since then? I mean, Gary, I know you mentioned the TedX and Ellen show, like their life goals, Michael, for any person in the world, like to tick off like more than one of them is phenomenal. Like you must be in like, it's A+ territory, that's for sure. I'll tell you that.
I suppose it is.
So you've left your job, you've now become like, pretty much you're a celebrity, right? Like you've huge following, people absolutely love you around the world. You have followers from everywhere.
Yep.
What does that next phase look for you? I know you're doing acting, you're going to pursue that career.
Yeah. Focusing on the podcast.
Yes, tell us about the podcast.
It's a really great project that I enjoy working on. I'm very proud of it. And I really appreciate what my producers do for me. And we've had a lot of amazing guests on there. We've had Justin Clark, Claudia Carvin, Susie Porter, Shane Jacobson, Chelsea Peretti, Stephanie Beatrice, Graham Cornish from the Puffing Billy Railway, Esme Louise James, Kirsten Banks, Mark Evan Jackson, my parents, my best friend. We've had heaps.
Wow.
And we've had over 50 episodes now.
Oh, wow.
50.
Over that, yeah.
You're smashing us. We're not at 50 yet, are we?
It feels like we are, but we're not. I think Michael, your episode 8, season 2, which is 29 episodes, I think.
Oh,
You're 50 in already, mate. You're smashing it.
thanks. Thank you.
Do you know, Michael, that Gary told us a statistic when Gary's Mr. Research on our podcast, and he said, what was it, Gary? If you get more than 20 episodes,
21, I think it was.
21 episodes, you're in the top, 2 percentile of podcasts?
Yeah, something.
Internationally. So you should be very proud. If you've got 50 podcasts, you're way ahead of the game.
Thanks. And also, there are certain things I refuse to talk about on the podcast.
Oh,
Things
really?
like religion, politics, drugs, weapons, sex, wars, assassinations, massacres, anything that's dark.
All right. Well, Gary, we better end the podcast. They're all our follow-up questions.
And also, my podcast also has a strict no COVID talk policy.
Yeah.
Enough chat of that.
I think everyone's a bit over COVID at this point, aren't we?
Yep, we all are.
Well, here's something that maybe outside of those things that we'd like to talk about, and that's around success, because you've spoken about that directly on your TEDx talk, which was really amazing.
Yeah, good mate. I listened to it all day though. Very good.
Yeah, Gary and I were blown away by that in terms of the life advice that you provide in your 7-minute speech. Can you tell us maybe a little bit more, anyone that hasn't seen that, about what like success means to you? Maybe how's that changed since you've been on the show?
Sure. 10 years ago, when I finished school, I thought the epitome of success was buying a house, getting a job, getting married, having kids, and having a pet and becoming wealthy. But now I view an actor's life as success because it's what I've always wanted to achieve. But don't get me wrong, I still wish to be married and have my own place and become wealthy and maybe potentially have kids, but I'm just not keen on having kids.
Yeah, it does. Kids, speaking from experience with a 1-year-old and my extra wrinkles in the last 12 months, it does definitely change your life. All the cliches about being a parent are true, but they are bundles of joy. And, you know, when you see them smile and stuff, you know, it really does warm your heart. And yeah, because that's an interesting point about success, because we've talked about this quite a lot, Michael, maybe not necessarily using the term success, but we talk about being content, being happy, you know, people are often searching for the big job promotion, you know, or a fancy car for them to feel good about themselves and their self-esteem. Has your own self-esteem changed after, I think you mentioned you traveled the world, you've gone to Germany, you've been on all these shows. Has your self-esteem and your outlook on that changed in the last year or two?
It has, yes. I now view myself in a more positive light.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, because gratitude is another thing that we've spoken about before. And I, for one, have been terrible about that most of my life. But like patting yourself on the back, thanking yourself, you know, being proud of where you are. I don't know if you know Snoop Dogg, the rapper in America, but he just, did you see that, Gary? He did a video recently where he was doing an acceptance speech, and he goes, I have one more person to thank. And at the end, he goes, I want to thank me. I want to thank me for sticking it out. I want to thank me for doing this and doing that. And I thought that was pretty cool. You know,
Yeah, that's class.
That's impressive.
yeah.
Yeah, he's everywhere. Snoop Dogg is absolutely everywhere right now.
Yep.
Every commercial, movies, appearances, just turns up everywhere.
Menu log. Yeah.
Menu log.
Of course.
With success as well, Michael, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, basically what you're saying, obviously you're big on acting, you want to be an actor and you love movies. So ultimately for you, success is living your life doing what you love.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think that's very important. It's an important message. I think a lot of people are unhappy day to day with what to do. So I think that's super important to find what they love.
Yes. Because in those 2 full-time jobs I had, my heart was never in either of them. I only did it because of the money and because I didn't have much choice. I didn't have a job that I enjoyed the most or hated the most. I always thought I could have done better.
I think where you've ended up, mate, I think you've proved yourself right. What you're currently doing now, you definitely, I'm not saying what you've done before was bad, but the life you're living now, you're living the life that you want to live. You're acting.
Yep, I am.
What would you put that down to, Michael? Because I think you've mentioned that in one of your talks where you, at the end, you say, like, if I had to give somebody advice, you said, I think things like trust your gut, stick at it. Is that what you kind of said?
Yeah, that's right. Trust your gut and follow your heart. But you also have to use your discernment as well and have your wits about you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's some advice I gave in the TED talk.
Yeah, I also saw an interview you gave. I think the discussion was around people with Asperger's regarding government funding, and then they asked you, what do you think advice you'd give to people with Asperger's? And it was similar advice. And you basically said, put yourself out more. Yeah,
exactly. Keep putting yourself out there. Don't give up and just be determined. If your heart is pining for something, pursue it and don't give up on it. No matter how many times I think about giving up, I always go back to being determined.
Who do you think in your life helped you? Like, do you think you've had a good family, environment, friends? Like, what would you put down to, like, you know, where you are today? How did you get to where you are today? Who would you say helped and supported you along the way?
My parents were the main people that helped.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents say they did their best to raise me and my siblings, but I think they did more than their best. With me at least.
What about your brother now?
He's fiercely independent.
Yeah.
It helped. Definitely helped my sister as well.
So you have 2 siblings, 1 brother, 1 sister, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Are you the favorite?
No. I would be uncomfortable being a golden child. I don't like that much attention.
I mean, the scenes, probably my favorite part of the whole Love on the Spectrum is like the scenes with your family. Like, they're just around the dinner table, and your family seemed like so much fun. I'd love to like go there one day. Like the banter around the table was brilliant, and you're slagging your brother, and yeah, it must have been a great place to grow up.
Yeah, it was. In fact, I've lived this house my entire life.
Oh, nice.
Wow. You've never been in another house?
No.
I mean, that's amazing. I think I've lived in about 8 houses in Bondi already.
Wow.
It's a bit scary when you change so much.
Yeah.
You need a Hollywood mansion, mate, when your acting career ticks off.
I don't want a mansion. Too much work.
What happens, Michael, if you land like a big movie and you make like big bucks? Like, will you stay at home, or would you get your own place?
I would get my own place, a cottage.
A cottage? Ooh. Why a cottage?
Because I'd rather have something small and simple and nothing extravagant or large, because the larger it is, the the more work it requires, and therefore you'd be wasting your relaxation time maintaining it. Fuck that.
It's a very valid point, mate, to be honest with you.
But plus, I'd rather keep my money in the bank where it belongs. Where it will be
Earning
safe.
interest. But I think your parents, I think we'd agree your parents done a great job, because you're so mannerly and very professional. You're articulate. You've got all the values that anyone would want. Your kindness, your patience on the show. I know even when dates don't go well, you're always very, very diplomatic about it. And thinking of the show, you mentioned, are you single at the moment?
Yep, still single.
Still single. And what are you looking for in a partner? You mentioned you're serious. Do you want a serious person like for you?
She doesn't really have to be. She can be jovial. She can have whatever traits she has, but there are two important boxes that she must tick.
Okay.
If she comes from a good, loving family that is not dysfunctional, and if she has a lovely nature and is pure of heart. And there's a third box, but after marriage.
After marriage, yeah.
She would have to handle being the wife of a famous actor, which means that I'd be absent from home frequently.
That is very forward thinking, mate. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Not everyone would be content with that.
Yep, I know.
So if you were invited, let's just say, to the Oscars, would you bring her on the red carpet?
Yeah, of course.
Love that, mate. I'd love to turn on the Oscars one day and see you come out of a big limo on the red carpet with your partner.
Yeah, because people like Tom Hanks and Mark Evan Jackson and Phil Hartman, they always brought their partners on red carpets.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always dreamed of doing that myself.
What about, though, if you did become famous? You see some people who have childhood sweethearts, but then they become famous and then they, move on to somebody else that's also a celebrity. Would you stick with the person, do you think, even if you got super, super famous?
Yes. I don't care about how famous a person is.
Mm-hmm.
I just care about who she is as a person. She can be whatever she wants to be.
That's
Love
great.
it.
Because after all, a job's a job. And with acting, I only do it because I'm passionate about the craft, because I enjoy making people laugh.
And you do a pretty good job at that. You're a natural.
Thank you.
I did want to ask you as well, because we spoke a little bit about anxiety at the beginning, and social anxiety is definitely something that I struggle with. Speaking of performance, when I got to speak in front of a big crowd, sometimes I can get a bit edgy. What does that look like for you? Because as Gary was saying, like, you've done some pretty global things. Like, I mean, was that tricky at any point? Did you get any training? Did you just learn as you go?
I don't think I've had any training in terms of public speaking. I think I've always been pretty confident about getting up in front of an audience and talking about something.
What about from the social anxiety standpoint, or from the anxiety standpoint? Have you get any little techniques you use personally to manage when anxiety gets too much or you feel it coming on?
Well, sometimes I just need alone time to recharge my batteries, and television also helps.
Yep.
Especially comedies. So basically, all I need is some alone time, a bit of quality time with the television, and all time in nature, and then I'd be good to go again. And for my anger or anxiety, one coping mechanism that I came up with years ago is playing villains.
Right. Talk us through that. Like, do you mean getting into character?
Yeah, exactly. Getting into character, because that way it's a perfect coping mechanism that impacts no one, including me.
I like it. You're kind of taking the power away from it, are you? When you do that?
Exactly. It's just a healthy way to release any anger.
Over the course of the seasons, Michael, we've had people give a lot of their tips, and nature did come up, being with dogs and things like that. But we've not, and anger hasn't really come up that much, Gary, has it?
Nah, it's not. Nah, it's more been the anxiety side of things, and maybe some sadness or overwhelm.
But anger is one of those things that can manifest from something else that's going on, like if
I know.
and building up, you can get Because I definitely feel like it's like if you're unresolved with something, you can fall into anger, and then you get angry at people, but they don't know why you're angry. But we haven't had that many tips on how to release that. So that's really good. The only other one we've heard in angry is the primal scream. Have you ever heard of that one, Michael?
No.
This one is a little bit more embarrassing, and it's a little bit awkward to do this, but the coach that I work with trained me how to do a primal scream. So if you're feeling like you're building up and you're about to, fly off the handle and get really angry with someone, you need to take yourself into a room or into your back garden or something and just let out a huge big scream. You gotta just go, ah! Do that 3 times until literally the oxygen comes out of your breath and it releases it, which I'm not going to, I was going to say, will I make us all do it now on the podcast?
Until my neighbors will be upset.
Yeah. But I was on a phone call with him one day in a park and I was angry about something and he said, okay, let's do the primal scream. And I said, I can't. And he's like, what do you mean you can't? I said, there's a mum over there with a baby. There's someone having a coffee. And he goes, but this is the whole thing. You need to let go. And he made me scream in
the park.
Yeah, in the middle of a park. Oh, I know. I nearly had like social services call up and take me away. I'm like, or the police.
Social services.
Where's this guy's parents? He needs to be brought home.
What was the response you got, Solly, to that? Did anyone say it to you? Did anyone say, you all right, mate?
No, I mean, I kind of went, I was in the middle, I was sitting on a bench and then I kind of walked towards the corner and I shouted and then no one said boo to me, like.
Or just for local nutter.
Yeah, that's it. No, I didn't want someone to go, that's the guy from Nimbus, isn't it?
They must be doing terribly just now.
Yeah. Oh God, that new studio must
that
be...
sauna wasn't really that hot, actually, now I think about it.
Yeah. I don't know when I'm gonna go back there. No, because all those things, like in theory, sound good. And like, when someone's saying that to you, oh yeah, just let out a scream. You're like, oh yeah, yeah, funny, good one. No, but actually scream. I'm like, are you serious? Because one of the other things, I got bullied, Michael, when I was younger. Ooh. And I had to resolve some of the bullying things. And I haven't done it fully, if I'm being totally honest here. But there was like 3 or 4 scenarios, let's say, when I was younger as a kid. And I did basically, you can write a letter if you don't want to confront the person, and then you burn the letter in like a ceremony to release the trauma and the tension from you, because we carry that in our bodies over time. I did ring, though, 1 or 2 people, which was like maybe less awkward for me to do so. And it was an amazing experience. And now that I'm kind of a little bit further on, I might actually ring those few guys that I haven't rung yet. But you'd be surprised how amazing that phone call could be. And like to put it in context, one of them was, this one wasn't really bullying, but we were on the schoolyard when we were kids. And one of my friends, who's actually in my circle of friends even today, was giving out birthday invitations. And when he got to me, he said, oh, I'm sorry, I've ran out of birthday invitations. And I was devastated. And it was the first time where I felt like nobody liked me, Oh. I ran home crying. I told my mom, and, I was like not the cool kid that didn't get invited to the birthday party. And then that started this whole thing of me trying to be liked by everybody. Like the force trying to be funny. And if you fast forward like 20, 30 years, you can imagine layer over layer over layer over layer of that. And then I had to ring my mate like 30 years later and said, you probably don't remember this, but you gave me a birthday card, or you didn't give me a birthday card on the schoolyard. But what was really surprising was he said that, whilst we're good friends now, he said, yeah, do you know what? Like, I felt like there probably was a bit of tension between us going up through school, but he didn't know why. And probably I didn't know why, but there was probably resentment there because he didn't invite me, but I didn't know how to communicate it. Yeah. And it's just fascinating. It kind of blew both our minds. And then if anything, it strengthened our relationship going forward, because now there's no skeletons in the closet anymore,
Oh, mate, it's funny as well. I've gave out 100 wedding invitations and there's only one sitting on my mantelpiece right now, and it's yours. I've not given you yours yet.
Gary, this is trauma from my childhood. What are you
Well, I have
doing?
actually got it, mate. I've not run out of them. I actually have got it with your name on it.
Well, can I just, you guys like me, right? Am I okay?
Silence.
Silence.
Right, you're all right. You're all right.
Hopefully I'm liked.
Yeah, but yeah, sure. Being invited to a birthday party seems like an honor, but birthday parties happen every year, and they're very common.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, when you become an adult, you don't even have birthday parties when you're an adult, because what's the point? Plus that's something children do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's when you get older, birthday parties don't become as important. And I suppose for the last few years, what I've been trying to do is flip all that on its head. You obviously, as a young boy, I thought being liked was the way to go, the cool way. And it's taken me 30 years to realize, to what you just said, Michael, that it doesn't really matter. You don't need to be liked like that. And then that gives you power, because then, as you said, you don't, because I used to be a people pleaser, you know, I'd go to everything, you know, anyone had anything, I'd go, because I don't know, the social pressures of you wanting and trying to be there at everything. But if you people please too much, it eventually catches up with you.
Yeah, I know.
How about that with you in the dating world, Michael? Because a big thing in the dating world is often, and sometimes we almost just settle for a partner because, I mean, you've maybe been through loads of dates and you just start compromising, going, do you know what, I need to try and please this person to give myself a chance. How did you find it in the dating world?
Well, you can't really compromise too much, maybe like one or two things, but you can't just settle for anyone. You have to go for who's right for you. You have to pay attention to what your heart, mind, and gut say.
And what about, Michael? Do you have high standards when it comes to your partner? And is there any deal breakers where if something happened, that's it, game over?
Yep, there are some deal breakers. If she would not be able to handle me being the wife of a famous actor, and also someone who smokes or drinks, is an alcoholic, or takes drugs and does lawful things, and goes around causing trouble and doing all these bad things.
Yeah, sure.
And if she's gothic, that's also kind of a deal breaker.
Oh, guts. No guts.
Yeah. But also, I don't pursue women who are engaged or married or already in a relationship. And also, if she's a very bitchy person, that's another deal breaker.
A lot of gossiping. That can spread, that negativity can spread in your life and just sort of a real bad energy in your life, definitely.
And what's the next phase with, like, let's say your dating life, Michael? What's the plan? Are you still putting yourself out there? You know,
still putting myself out there. Have
you had more inquiries post the show? Like, is that going to be a new challenge for you? You need to make sure that they're in it for honesty.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I pursue women that are interested in a relationship, not coitus.
Do you have any? Because on the show you did some private dating, you did some speed dating. Like, do you have things like that coming up in the future?
I don't really know at this stage. I just got to see how things go.
And what about the US show? Because obviously the success of what you guys did here in Australia spreads not only in season 2. Hopefully there's a season 3.
There won't be a season 3.
Oh, really?
No?
Oh, live exclusive?
Why not?
It's because it's the ABC's decision.
Oh my God. I thought it, because everybody I know watches it and like loves it so much, and it brings us so much joy. ABC, put on a season 3.
But also, I'm branching away from that now because I'm focusing on acting. But Love on the Spectrum was a moment of life where I did a great honor, and it's always going to be a part of my life.
Oh, we love that. Yeah, we know what you mean, that sometimes things run their course and it's time for you to grow on to the next chapter, right?
Yeah, of course.
With acting, Michael, what is the process to really get, like, cement yourself in the acting world? Right now you're finishing this course, you're doing the intermediate course.
Well,
what is the next step?
Well, I do have a couple of roles coming up, but I don't really talk too much about them. But I also have an acting agent as well.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
And I also just need to attend certain events and do some networking.
Yeah, like outside of acting, have you had people ask you to come to launches or events or to speak at things?
Not very often, no.
To be honest, we were honored that you even replied to our Instagram. We were like, he's too big for us. He's not going to say yes.
How am I that big? I'm not Kevin Hart and I'm not Tom Hanks either.
Well, you're doing pretty good. All my friends know you. I have a friend, Ellie, she's listening up in Brisbane. She's absolutely in love with you. She's always sending me your quotes and everything like that. And she's like, he's just the best. Anybody that's seen the show, like, you're just the most favorite person.
Oh, I see. I should share this. In my first full-time job, this was 6 years ago, because I hated it so much. I was being called names a lot by one of my co-workers. It got to me and it made me feel suicidal.
Right.
To the point that I attempted it at least twice or something. But then I realized that it was never going to work. But also, I have not made any attempts since.
Good.
But last year during the lockdown, I was so depressed and so down that I was on the verge of considering suicide, but did not make any attempts. My boss at the time was so concerned that he decided to give me a week off work to get my head realigned. But I'm all good. I've been fine ever since.
Well, what did you do, Michael, in that scenario? So when you were kind of down a bit, was there anything that you did to help, like the week off work, but did you do anything particular that got you through that period?
I did some reading and speak to a therapist, and I also did some power walks as well.
Exercise, reading. Yeah. Good.
And do you, obviously we've seen your family on the show and your friends, like, do you speak to your circle of friends and family about how you feel? Like, is that comfortable for you?
Yeah, it is.
Good. And does that help you?
Yeah, it does help.
Yeah, one of the things that we speak about is, obviously the stigma is a big problem, that people are often afraid to say how they're feeling.
With that job you were in, Michael, that was obviously the one. Was that the same job that you were really? Was obviously that situation when the person was calling your names? Was that obviously? I'm assuming that's part of the reason why you didn't like it. But was that also the same job that you didn't actually like the work?
No.
Oh, okay.
The first the job where I made suicide attempts, that was my first full-time job. But the job where I was on the verge of considering suicide, that was my second full-time job.
So this is on two separate occasions at two separate workplaces? Yep,
different job.
And is that was that second time stemming from the first incident where someone was calling your names and you're getting
No, it was the lockdown from last year.
Okay, it was from the lockdown, yes. Okay.
That's what made me almost on the verge of considering it last year.
Yep. I don't think we're alone there, mate. I think that was a real tough time. We won't go into detail about that because, again, that sort of hovers around the whole COVID situation. But yeah, no, mate. Look, I'm really glad to hear that you fought through it. You're brave enough to chat about it as well, mate. That's not easy to do. So I appreciate that.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Good to be open about things.
100%, mate. That's exactly what it's all about.
Yeah, this is like what the show is all about. That, even suicide, which is a very, very serious part of mental health, it's also something that we shouldn't be afraid about speaking about it, because a lot of people go to those places and have those thoughts, and just because you have those thoughts doesn't mean that you can't pull through, and you should be awfully proud of yourself. Thanks. Sitting here chatting to two random guys about your amazing life and how many people, not only in Australia but across the world, that you've touched through really just you being you, right? You're not really, even though you're trained to be an actor, what people have seen in you has not been your acting side, it's been your Michael Theo side, right?
Yeah, of course.
Amazing story, mate. I mean, it makes, obviously what you've done in the last 2 years is amazing, how you've touched the world, but to hear that, what happened a few years ago, how you came through that, it's pretty inspirational for a lot of people who, I mean, let's be honest, there's millions of people worldwide who have similar thoughts. What was the statistic, Sully, regarding suicide that Batir told us?
8 Australians per day take their own life due to suicide. which is a pretty harrowing statistic. And
The biggest killer, men.
it's the biggest killer in men between the ages of, I think it's 18 and 45, I think it's now the biggest thing impacting men. And, you know, that's just why the show and all these things are great, because we need to close that gap. You know, it's a huge impactful thing for guys. And historically, men were not great at sharing our emotions, right? Compared to, let's say, women. A lot of men hold their thoughts in. And that's why we're saying about you should be very proud that you're opening up about it, which is a huge and vital, important element to all of this, that you can be comfortable with speaking about it, because then you can get people to help you, right?
Of course.
What about your circle of friends? Do you have anybody else who would you help them with their mental health or anything like
Yeah,
that?
of course. I would do what I can.
Are friends important to help you through that phase?
Yeah, of course. But also with friends, you can't always count on friendship because more often than not, a lot of friends don't make time for you because they're constantly busy with their lives. A lot of people that I went to school with for my year, a lot of them have already gotten married and have kids now. Because that's the thing, when you finish school, your friends eventually stop making time for each other.
It's a part of life, right? You know, life changes and things get in the way. And it's also probably a little bit of advice leading from my side for people is you do have to rely on yourself. Like, you know, there is a lot of that you have to, like, at the end of the day, like validation was a big thing I struggle with. You know, I used to need people to tell me I'm good. Whereas if you seek validation in others, you're just never going to be happy. You've got to get it from yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you a question, Michael, regarding that when you're going through that suicidal thoughts time? Did anyone else pick up on how you were feeling? Did anyone say to you, is everything okay, Michael? You don't seem yourself? Or
I told my parents about it at the time.
Yep.
And did that help?
Yeah, it did kind of help. But also, in my second job, it was picked up on. Yeah.
Someone else picked up on it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
My boss was concerned.
Fair play to your boss. Do you still talk to your boss?
It was my supervisor, actually.
Yep.
They do say that. They say like an important thing for you. And this is the thing, right? If people are aware, let's say I'm Neil and people know I have some issues with anxiety and things like that. If people are aware of it, they know you intrinsically, right? So if you start behaving a little bit different, then they can start being aware of it themselves. And sometimes if you can't see it, they can see it. And this is why it's so important. I know stigma and removing that seems like such a simple thing, but by doing that, you're helping not only you, but your circle around you to deal with it.
So. Yeah.
And how does that make you feel now, though? Like you're sitting here now, you know, you've had those times in the past, and since then your life has just gone to a whole nother level of success and everything that you mentioned.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who maybe are listening that might have been in that place where you are now? Like, any advice that you give them to push through?
Reach out to your family and friends, because they always help, and you have to be open with them. You won't have regrets about it.
Love that. Yeah.
I think that's a good point. At the end of the day, you won't have regrets about it. I mean, if you went to your family and friends, and for whatever reason, the friends don't have time, they don't notice, etc. I mean, there's no regrets of you taking that route. That is your best route. Family and friends are the people who's closest to you, and like you said, Neil, they know you best. They know intrinsically what you're like as a person. Yeah. So if you can't talk to them, which I'd be amazed if there's very many people out there who have had a conversation openly with someone and they've rejected them.
Yeah, I know.
But even if they do, it's like, it's that thing of, even if you tell somebody and they you don't lose anything by telling them, the kind of way, like there's no harm. Even like you could tell 5 people, 4 of them could go, okay, cool, whatever. But one person might go, oh, wow. And then, so I suppose it's just to encourage people to do it, and see what happens.
Yeah, of course.
Well, it's a credit to you. And I think that point that you mentioned there about speaking to someone is a really important first step. And I think that's the thing with mental health. It's like a big, long ladder, right? We're not saying like you need to jump straight in the deep end and go speak to a psychologist or take medication. Maybe down the track. But just think, because if you have mental health, sometimes the problems feel so big and you feel, I can't tackle that. It's overwhelming. It's too much. But speaking to someone, which we've heard from numerous sources, is like the best way to just start. And once you do that, everything else will
Yeah.
follow afterwards.
Yeah, of course.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah, credit to you, mate. That's brilliant. Again, thanks so much for sharing that quality.
That's all right.
Yeah, that is amazing. And brings us to the quick fire, which is a good way to segue because we kind of talk about this a little bit. So there's 4 questions. Imagine a, invisible clock, but with 30 seconds, but we never stick to that time. So don't worry about that. And I'll just shoot these questions at you and just fire back an answer as quick as you can. So number 1, Michael, when are you at your happiest?
It depends on the situation. If I'm amongst nature or on a railway or with animals or performing.
Nice.
Again, doing what you love, mate. You're happiest when you're doing what you love. Railways, animals, acting. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If you have to pick one animal, what would it be? Are you a dog guy or cat guy or
Cats.
Cats.
And what is your current mental health out of 10?
8 to 9.
Oh, I love it.
Love it. It's a great score.
Thanks.
And what do you think is the world's mental health awareness out of 10?
I'm not really too sure, to be honest. Well, we could do better.
That seems to be the recurring theme that we're getting. And Australia does pretty good, but if you go to other countries, maybe not so good. So,
Yeah.
and then the final question is, if you had to give people just one bit of advice, one thing to do every day that would improve their mental health, what would that be?
Go for a power walk amongst nature because it's a very soothing, healing place.
Love it.
And
I like that.
drink plenty of water every day.
Yeah, agreed, mate. The nature and the walking are 2 of the probably most common answers. I think that's just one of those principles that you can't get away from. There's just something therapeutic about walking and something therapeutic about being in nature, which is just hard to explain.
Yeah.
Just seems to work.
And sleep. Sleep
Oh,
is
yeah,
just
sleep.
Yep, sleep is also important because you have to recharge your batteries every night.
Yeah,
do you sleep well, Michael? Do you nap during the day or
I don't nap during the day. I just sleep
you sleep
at
well?
night. Yep, I'm a heavy sleeper.
That is one thing that I certainly am not getting at the moment as a young lad is sleep. I think I got about four hours sleep last night. But I up late editing podcasts. That's showbiz, right, Mike?
No.
Awesome. And so how do people reach out?
If someone wants to work with you, if someone wants to chat with you, contact you, maybe about a job, about a role, an acting role or opportunity.
If they wanted to contact me about acting roles and all that, the best thing to do would be to contact Liberty Artist Management in Sydney because I'm with them. And if it's for influencing or socials, contact Born Bred Talent.
Born Bred Talent.
Yeah. And for podcasts, the best people to contact would be DM Podcasts.
DM Podcasts. Yep. And do you want to just tell the listeners again the name of your podcast and also maybe your Instagram handle if they want to follow you?
My podcast is called Mr. A Plus. And my Instagram username is known as Mr_A_plus_Michael.
Can I just jump in? Do you have 3 separate agents? Did I hear that right?
One acting agency, one agency for influencing, and the third one is for podcasts.
Wow. I mean, you're doing pretty good.
Thanks.
We don't have any agents.
Oh.
Yeah, hence all the wrinkles on our face.
Yeah. I have producers.
Off your podcast.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes things a lot bit easier, doesn't it?
I really appreciate what they do.
Oh yeah, they do a good job. Producers will make a big difference.
Yeah.
Even with the editing, it's a tricky job, going through it. You have to re-listen minute by minute and full on.
Well, Michael, I mean, first off, I want to say that you're obviously got a lot on your plate. You've got a lot of opportunities. So thanks very much for your time, mate, first and foremost.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. And also really thanks again for sharing your mental health story.
That's all right.
Very encouraging, very brave and very inspirational for a lot of people.
That's all good.
Yeah, massive thanks. And to be honest, I got goosebumps when we knew we were going to be able to speak to you because we're such big fans. And
thanks.
What you've done and just being yourself is just showing the world to be yourself and be true and be authentic and how that can serve you good. So we hope you just keep doing what you're doing,
Yeah, that's never going to stop.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, finish the acting And who knows, maybe this time next year you'll be on another show and
Yeah.
Carey and I will be able to tell our grandkids. We spoke to him one day before he was, really big famous.
I really hope for that.
I'm sure it
Yeah.
will, mate. I've got no doubt. I mean, just to reiterate to everyone listening, you can catch Michael on Love on the Spectrum, which is on Netflix. You can catch him on his TEDx talk, which is about 2 or 3 months ago, released on YouTube. Again, simple TEDx Michael Theo. Speaks about success. You can get him on his Mr. A+ podcast.
And Ellen, and you can YouTube on Ellen.
You can YouTube him on Ellen's show, which is a great little interview with Ellen Degeneres. You're not going to, if you Google Michael Theo, you will not struggle to find clips, snippets, or information on him. So pleasure to have you, mate. Definitely.
One last, the suit that Ellen got you, did that come to Australia? Do you still have it?
Yeah, I still have it. Yes.
Have you worn it yet?
Wow.
Yeah, I've worn it quite a few times.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Nice.
that's class. Don't ever sell that on Marketplace or
We'll never be doing that.
You need to keep it and frame it.
Yeah.
Good man. Legend. Thanks so much, Michael. Well, we wish you a great weekend and thanks for your time.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Michael. Thanks very much, mate.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thanks. See you.
Cheers, mate. See you
Bye.
later, mate.
Gentlemen.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers, mate. You too.
Ciao.
Well, that was great. Thanks so much, Michael.
You're welcome. What was your name?
I'm Neil.
Neil.
Yeah, Neil O'Sullivan is my name. And then Gary Rafferty.
Nice.
Neil and Gaz. Yeah.
Neil and Gaz.
Gaz, yeah, just short for Gary. Yeah.
Yeah. Gaza. Yeah, we've known each other for, oh God, must be 7 or 8 years, Gary, is it probably?
Yeah, 7 or 8 years, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How long ago did you come from Scotland, Gary?
I got here in 2014.
Oh.
I lived in the USA before that. I was in the USA for 5 years.
Ooh. What's it like in Scotland?
In terms of what?
Of anything?
Anything. Weather-wise is typical, as you can imagine. UK, a bit wet, damp, a little bit cold, but very seasonal. Summer's not bad. Spring's not bad, but winter's freezing cold. It's a very, I would say, mate, it's one of the place I've found with the most kindest people ever. Everyone's so kind. Everyone's very helpful. Everyone's up for a laugh. No one takes themselves too serious. I don't mean that like it's people are ambitious, etc. But you can talk to anybody in the street. They'll invite you for a cup of tea. They'll chat to you about anything. So it's everyone always says the same. It's a very heartwarming place. But I mean, the weather doesn't help. As you know yourself, mate, when it's raining outside, it can change your mood. So when it's raining quite a lot, people's moods can sometimes come with that. But yeah, a beautiful place as well, mate. Lots of greenery up north, loads of beautiful places to see.
And I've also noticed something else. The Scottish has something in common with the Irish.
What's that?
They both love drinking, and they're very passionate about their countries and their cultures, and they could talk about it for hours.
Yes, and we both hate the English.
I wonder why.
That's pretty true, mate. We do love a drink. That's a common thing.
We are very similar. Even the sense of humor, I would say, like Irish and Scottish people just get on like, it's like ducks to water. And there is linkage back to Gaelic, back to the Celtic, nomads, and back in those days, that's like, you're talking like the Celtic race is thousands of years old, and they migrated around Scotland and Ireland. So there's a very long history of synergy between the two nations,
Yeah. In fact, two steam engines from Thomas the Tank Engine, two twins named Donald and Douglas, they're Scottish.
Oh, are they? I don't even know that.
You do now.
Every day's a school day.
Well, it's on Netflix, Gary, if you want to watch it. I've been watching it all this week.
I'm not watching it if they've changed that theme tune. That was the only thing I liked.
Just stick to the original series.
Yeah, I was going to say that. OG.
Yeah, with Ringo Starr. I said OG to my wife the other day, and she said, "What's OG?" I was like, "Really? Original? Did you not like get with the lingo?"
What's on the cards this weekend, Michael? What you got planned?
I have my second last acting class tomorrow. along with a birthday party to attend and a reunion.
A reunion for Love in the Spectrum.
No, for school.
Oh, for school. Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah. And it's still recording.
Oh, we're still recording here. Here, I'll turn this off.
Yeah.
In case we say it.